How often have you found yourself opening your smartphone and suddenly finding yourself on there for hours on end? It's so easy to get lost in our screens as we tap from application to application aimlessly and endlessly. Studies are now showing links between excessive usage of smart devices and increased levels of physical and mental ailments, such as anxiety, depression, poor sleep quality, increased risk of car injury, sore eyes, joint pain, chronic fatigue, lack of compassion, and lack of empathy. So why is it so hard to disconnect from our smartphones and screens? Modern devices and social media are designed to hook you in. The rush of dopamine you get from likes, comments, and retweets is actually rewiring our brain to crave applications such as TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Psychologists are starting to realise how damaging smart devices can be to our brains. It should be telling when we hear some of the biggest names in tech, such as Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, rarely letting their kids interact with the very products they help create. Snapchat CEO Evan Segal is another big name in the tech world who had limits on his kids' screen time. In 2010, Steve Jobs, CEO Apple, released the iPad.
And what this device does is extraordinary. You can browse the web with it. It is the best browsing experience you've ever had. It's phenomenal to see a whole web page right in front of you, and you can manipulate with your fingers. Right there, holding the internet in your hands. It's an incredible experience.
Professor Alter, a social psychologist, did a TED Talk in 2017 talking about the addictive nature of smart technology.
Steve Jobs, when he was releasing the iPad, described the iPad as a device that was extraordinary. The best browsing experience you ever had, way better than a laptop, way better than a smartphone. It's an incredible experience. Now, a couple of months later, he was approached by a journalist from the New York Times, and they had a long phone call. And at the end of the call, the journalist threw in a question that seemed like a sort of softball. He said to him, "Your kids must love the iPad." And there's an obvious answer to this, but what Jobs said really staggered the journalist. He was very surprised because he said, "They haven't used it. We limit how much technology our kids use at home." So when I heard about this, I thought it was interesting and surprising, and it pushed me to consider what screens were doing to me and to my family and the people I loved. And everything's bottomless. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, text messaging, the news, and when you do check all sorts of other sources, you can just keep going on and on and on.
Professor Alter in his talk introduces the idea of stopping cues. It's important to do things that add meaning to our lives, things that make us grow and develop as individuals. Stopping every now and then can help us reboot our brain. 5
and 6 p.m. looks different on different days. I think a far better strategy is to say, I do certain things every day. There are certain occasions that happen every day, like eating dinner. Sometimes I'll be alone, sometimes with other people, sometimes in a restaurant, sometimes at home. But the rule that I've adopted is I will never use my phone at the table. It's far away as possible. Because we're really bad at resisting temptation, but when you have a stopping cue that every time dinner begins, my phone goes far away, you avoid temptation altogether. At first, it hurts.
Going cold turkey with technology is not realistic, but we can take back control. Taking back control can be gradual.
You get used to it. You overcome the withdrawal the same way you would from a drug. And what happens is life becomes more colorful, richer, more interesting. You have better conversations. You really connect with the people who are there with you. I think it's a fantastic strategy. And we know it works because when people do this, and I've tracked a whole lot of people who have tried this, it expands. They feel so good about it that they start doing it for the first hour of the day in the morning. They start putting their phones on airplane mode on the weekend. That way your phone remains a camera, but it's no longer a phone. It's a really powerful idea, and we know people feel much better about their lives when they do this.
Sit down with your kids and loved ones and strategize. See how you can support each other to get some strategies in place. Your future self will thank you. Your eyes, your joints, your fingers will thank you. So will your loved ones. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.